Hellraiser IV, Bloodline. Now, this one kind of sees Pinhead going into outer space. Now, I know what you're thinking, like movies like Jason X and Leprechaun 4 in space didn't work. This is a bit different. The movie kicks off with Paul Merchant on a space vessel in the distant future. He's clearly trying to create some sort of trap with using the puzzle box to try and trap the Xenobites, Pinhead and his Xenobites, and somehow destroy them forever. However, he's interrupted by some sort of space military team who aren't too happy with Paul Merchant, who presumably commandeered the space vessel to create this trap, and they stop him just before he can destroy the puzzle box and the Xenobites forever. His only hope is to convince them that he's not crazy and that what he needs to do will save Earth and the world altogether. So he starts telling a story. The story is centuries ago in the past, and it dives into the origins of one of his ancestors who first created the puzzle box. And this is by far my favorite part of the movie. If it was always set in the past, if the entire movie was a prequel and was set in the past on the origins of the puzzle box, it would definitely be a 13 out of 13. He tells the story of one of his ancestors, Philip Marchand in France, who's hired by some sort of aristocrat that's very, very into his dark arts, and he has the idea of somehow connecting hell and being able to create a portal to hell using this puzzle box, which he specifically asks Philip Marchand to create for him. And Angelique the demon spawns from hell. Now, this is where the movie gets a little bit weaker. It's kind of set in present time, where again Angelique is trying to release all the Xenobites from hell, where she tries to use one of Marchand's future ancestors as a means to open up hell and allow Pinhead and the Xenobites to enter Earth. So obviously there's quite a history here with the Merchant/Marchand family bloodline, and they've always been involved with the puzzle box and Pinhead. So fast forward to the space vessel in the future. Paul Merchant, obviously the name has evolved from Marchand to Merchant, is now trying to rid the world of Pinhead and the Xenobites and the power of the puzzle box and its connection to hell forever. Question is, does he succeed? Does he convince these military space officers that he's not crazy and that he needs to finish off his mission? You'll have to watch to find out. But this movie is definitely at its best when it's actually getting into the origin of the puzzle box and when it's centuries behind in France. I really enjoy that storyline, and those segments are definitely some of the strongest in the Hellraiser series and by far the more interesting. It's definitely great to see a prequel and the origins to the puzzle box and how it all came about. So in a way, this could just be like a part 2 to Hellraiser, really. It would have actually been fitting if it was the very first sequel to Hellraiser 2. Critics didn't rate this movie very highly, but as a fan of the series, I can't help myself but give this movie a 12 out of 13. Even though the idea of Pinhead in space sounds ridiculous, it actually works quite well in this film. It's not like Leprechaun in space or Jason X in space. It's really not that ludicrous at all. It actually works well with the story, and it's not, for me anyway, it's not cringe-worthy anyway. You won't be rolling your eyes being like, oh, this is so lame. It's not like that at all, and the distant future scenes aren't actually that common or frequent within the movie. It's not what the movie's based on. It's more about the origin story and then a little bit of the present time with the Marchand bloodline and their connection to the box and the Xenobites. If you're a fan of the series and like the earlier films, this is definitely worth watching. I would highly recommend it because, hey, if you like the series and you're fascinated by Pinhead and the puzzle box, the lament configuration, then you're going to want a bit of an origin story, and this gives us, at least in part, a very worthy origin story. I wish they expanded more on the origin parts of this movie, but for the most part, I'm just glad that they dove into it at all. I will be focusing on reviewing every single Hellraiser movie, hopefully before this upcoming Halloween. So if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and check out my other Hellraiser reviews.